It's such a pleasure to share this moment with all of you. My name is Diana Godinez, and I'll join you along this series of full English episodes at Explora Podcast UMES, which is a space created to share general interest topics such as cultures, citizen participation, and professional growth, and much, much more. This episode is brought to you thanks to Profesorado en Inglés de Universidad Mesoamericana. Today's guest is a current professor in our university. We're talking about Licenciado Rudy Rosal. We'll be talking about teaching a foreign language as a therapy through behavioral activation. So welcome.
Hello, Diana. Thank you for having me. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Rafael Rosal. As you mentioned, I'm a clinical psychologist with 10 years experience. I'm also a professor here, as you know, for the last 7 years, and I've been an English teacher for 15 years. Today, I'd like to talk about teaching a foreign language as a therapeutic tool with the use of behavioral activation. So you might ask, what is behavioral activation?
Definitely. Therapy, I got it. But behavioral activation, how will you define that?
Sounds weird, right?
Yeah.
Well, basically, behavioral activation is when we activate our minds, our bodies in such a way in which we become more and more motivated, right, to do stuff. I'll ask you a question. Have you ever noticed the fact that waking up early, doing a morning chore makes you feel a little better throughout your day, or a little more active, or perhaps you have a better mood than if you didn't do it?
Definitely. At times, yes. It's like, I think it's something like going to the gym, right?
Right.
That it activates you or it gives you more energy.
Exactly. Well, this is behavioral activation. This is about a relationship between what we do and how we feel. I think sometimes people underestimate how action has an effect on our minds and on our mood. Sometimes we tend to think that it's only our ideas, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think positive, then you feel well, and
yeah,
that's a part of it, right? But it's also what you do, like.
So it's not only my morning coffee.
Exactly. So it's also the things that you do with your body, your movement, tasks, right? Like chores, like I mentioned, right? Like if you wake up early. Well, this is behavioral activation. Psychologists have found out a direct relationship between our daily activity and mood. When we feel well, we tend to participate in activities that makes us feel well. Easy, right? But that's when you feel well already.
Exactly.
Right?
If you already feel well, then I do things that make me feel well, right? But what happens when it's the opposite? I feel bad and I cannot find an activity that makes me feel well.
Exactly. It's like, for example, in your job, like you wake up, you feel energized, motivated, and you go and you teach and everything's fine, right?
Yeah.
Everything's perfect. But the other way around is it's the difficult part, right? It's well known that doing activities we like gives us a sense of pleasure. Sometimes it's psychological pleasure, sometimes it's physical, and also mastery. Our mind likes to feel that we can achieve things, right? Like we can do things. Like, for example, you're teaching a lesson and that the message comes across perfectly, right? And they get it. Well, the mind likes that, right? Challenging ourselves also gives us the opportunity to develop a sense of achievement. It's also good to have relationships with people. That also boosts our mood. But going back to what you said, right? But what if I don't feel that well and I have to do something? So let's talk about spirals. I'm going to tell you about the first one. This is the downward spiral, right?
Going down,
right? In which I feel worse and worse, right? So the downward spiral is like this. Depressed people tend to do less of whatever, right? and so have less opportunity for pleasure, achievement, connection, communication. But we all know when we feel down, it's not easy to start any activity, nothing whatsoever, right? Even basic one like brushing our teeth, taking a shower,
The basics.
the basic ones, right? Going out for a walk. So that's the downward spiral. Basically, in short terms, inactivity leads to depression, and depression leads to inactivity.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It's like a circle.
Exactly, exactly. So if you're depressed, you don't do things, and if you don't do things,
You get depressed.
right? So it's a vicious circle. It's very difficult being inside of that. In psychology, well, that's the downward spiral. Let me give you an example of this kind of spiral. Imagine yourself waking up late in the morning.
Okay.
Maybe you scroll through your social apps. Maybe you postpone breakfast because you want to sleep in a little bit more. Maybe you arrive late to work. How are you feeling in this imaginary situation?
I'm feeling tired, I guess. Energyless.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Would you say that you would teach in a motivated fashion?
Probably not, because I didn't have breakfast, right? And I arrived late, so I'm a little bit stressed.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Second question, would you feel confident during that day in which you started like that?
Definitely not. I wouldn't feel confident at all.
So imagine if, I don't know, your boss or some higher up gave you an advice, or I don't know, maybe that would feel...
Probably, yes, I would feel scolded.
Exactly, exactly. And if it were in a different way, that you would feel energized, good, confident, etc., you would take it like an advice, right? Like you should do something, or your plans or whatever. But if you're already in this downward spiral, it makes you feel worse and worse.
Yeah, like the mood, the bad mood gets more intense.
Exactly.
Right.
You're viewing your reality through the lens of the bad mood, right?
Negativity.
Of negativity, right? Feeling sad or feeling vulnerable, right? At some point. In the same situation, then, how is your self-esteem in that imaginary
Low,
moment?
definitely. Definitely low. I've been there.
Yeah, imagine maybe I didn't take a shower, right? And maybe I didn't comb my hair or whatever. So it starts like that, right?
I think it's for both women and men. Like if you don't take a shower, you don't comb, you don't get your hair done, or you don't get your clean uniform on, and you go out to your job, you feel like you're not pretty or you're not presentable, right?
Exactly.
And it's amazing how that influences your mood, because you feel like, please don't get close to me. Oh, no, I don't want to get to the teacher's room, or I don't know.
Right. Right. Exactly. No, I agree. And you would feel maybe with even less authority, maybe inside the class, right? Maybe less knowledgeable, less smart that day.
Less smart. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, so that would be your mood like for the rest of the day. Maybe you would feel cranky, bored by your job, annoyed, like in the previous example, by simple things. Maybe in those cases, you would feel like, today I have to take extra work or whatever. And if you were feeling well, that would be nothing, right? That would be like ordinary. Well, even after oversleeping that day, like in the example, I don't think you would feel rested.
No,
Right.
definitely not.
And upon arriving at your house, motivation, do you think would be any sort of motivation after that kind of day when you get home and you have your free time?
No, because you have to do the things you didn't do in the morning, right? And you'll be like, you cannot rest because you have to do your chores. Or maybe you spend so much time in the morning that you didn't even do your bed. That's the worst scenario, I think.
Yeah, like postponing everything.
Yeah.
Then you get home, no energy, no motivation, and I still have stuff to do. Okay. So you would feel maybe sluggish, slow, maybe a little bit sad, getting to depression, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first step in this downward spiral, when we're not doing a lot of things, is to break it. First, we need to acknowledge it, right? So this is like
So if I recognize the symptoms, would be like easier.
exactly. It would be the first step in saying, well, I'm postponing. I'm not doing the things that I'm supposed to. Maybe I'm not doing any exercise at all, right? I'm not doing my chores, etc. So the basic explanation for the downward spiral, yeah, aside from the example, is like this. I feel discouraged, so I start here. That makes me feel slow, so I go down a bit, which makes me feel less active. That's one more step down. So doing things feels really hard work. Like I told you, brushing your teeth, right? Brings me even a step down. And then comes shame, guilt, sadness, right? And the final product, depression, right? When I have come all the way down of not doing, depression, sadness. That's the first part. Right?
That's the first part. And that's just the first part.
Yeah, that's like the bad news, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing that I always say to patients, consultants, is that we need to be first aware, like I told you. Second step is that we need to be very self-compassionate. I think that is something that we almost never practice, right?
That is true. We never practice, or we're very judgmental with us, right?
Yeah. We judge ourselves very harshly. And sometimes the example that I give my patients in consult is that imagine how you would treat your best friend, right? Your best friend is feeling down. He or she is crying, is depressed, lost his or her job. I don't know, someone died, right? With what level of compassion would you treat that person, right? Maybe in forms of gifts, of being with that person in their grief, visiting the person, calling, checking in, right? How are you? Want to go out for a drink? Want to eat something? Things like that. But we never do it with ourselves. So first, be aware, right? We are in that downward spiral. We need to do something about it. The other is being self-compassionate, saying, well, I'm not doing things like I want to or that I'm supposed to, but that's okay. I'm going to be patient, right? I'm going to start doing small things, right? Building up. And a quote that I really like from a psychology book is to say, sometimes it's okay not to be okay, right? So that takes the pressure off. Like, you don't have to be perfect all the time. You don't have to be happy all the time. We need to know that it will pass at some point, and we need to understand it and start activating, right? That's
the clue. That's the thing. When you start activating, when you're down of this in the bottom part of the spiral, how you activate, right?
Exactly. That's the second part. Like when you hit rock bottom, right? As we say.
Exactly.
Another saying that I like is that there's not any other way to go but up, right? Because if you're already at the bottom, then
you got my favorite phrases on your lips. Okay.
So let's talk about the upward spiral.
Okay.
Right? Let's call it the virtuous spiral. So it starts similar at the bottom, right? I feel depressed. There is no motivation. But I start doing something, whatever, Diana. Anything you want, right? Anything when you're feeling down. It can be something very, very small. So that in turn makes me feel a little bit better. I have a sense of achievement. Imagine like, I'm going to wash my car, right? Well, that's not like graduating from university, right? But it's something. You're starting small, right? Okay,
Definitely, it is.
wash my car. So that gives me the sense of achievement. I did something today, right? Um, Making your bed, like I said, taking a shower, cleaning your room a bit, like just a shelf, maybe going for a walk. Then, in turn, this activity makes me feel activated and a little more motivated, which in turn gives me the strength to do more and more. I have a metaphor that I really like about a stove, right? So you have your stove at home, right? So, Diana, what do you do? Do you wait for the stove to be hot to turn it on? Or do you turn it on and so it becomes hot?
The second one, definitely.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. So sometimes we look at things the other way, right? We want to wait for the motivation to come.
And that's not going to happen, right?
And that's not going to happen. Exactly. Yeah, like, okay, Monday, nothing. Tuesday, nothing, right? Wednesday.
Oh my God. February is off. We're on the 11th of March and nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe 2025 is going to be my year, right?
Yeah. This is going to be my year. No, it was.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like that. We have to view it from the opposite way, right? In the manner that I do things, motivation is going to come, right? If I do the things. So let me give you another example, like the opposite one. Think of a time in your life in which you were teaching something at a professional level, or it can be a personal level, right? With a friend or a family member. Think about your class, your students, or individual person that needed your knowledge and your guidance. That is a level of connection that brings forth empathy from you, right? Caring from your students or from this person in the family, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine yourself teaching a younger sibling something easy, right? When you were little, like how to tie their shoelaces, how to ride their bike. How was your mood in that memory?
I guess, let's think about riding the bike.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was excited because I was like, oh, he's going to make it. I'm going to help him. He's going to achieve that, right?
Exactly. Thanks to me, right? I guided you. I provided something.
Definitely.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Like that was the family example. For sure, right? You mentioned positive feelings, right? You could also feel excitement, passion, happiness. Perhaps it brought you joy and, more importantly, energy, right? To do some other thing, right? Maybe you taught your little brother and then you said, well, next year I'm gonna teach my little sister, right? Or my neighbor.
So like, oh, I can teach. So I do it with another one, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and I continue building on that thing that I can do that. Right? Mm-hmm. I can teach. Okay. So now imagine yourself in your first experience teaching a lesson to a large or small group who are placing their dreams in your very capable hands, like a professional level. Try to remember that time. Remember their faces, how they wanted to know and understand things that you could teach that only you could, right? You were the English teacher, right? How did you feel at the end of that first experience, that first period?
After the first period, I felt excited and I felt that I had accomplished something.
Right. Do you remember if you got any sort of reinforcement? Like my examples here are like some students stand up and thank you. Like,
yeah. When students come to you and tell you, oh, I finally got it.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Right. The thing, or you were very patient, right?
Yeah, you're very patient. Or the student who said, teacher, give me a test. I'm ready right now.
Yeah, like I can do it. I can nail it right
now. I can do it now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So other examples, maybe you got an apple, right? Like a very classic example
Yeah,
of
the
a teacher
classic.
getting the
Or
apple.
the furry animal on Valentine's Day, right?
Right, also
On Teacher's Day, the chocolates.
on Teacher's Day, yeah. Or something as simple as a friendly smile, right?
Yep.
So that would be the other spiral, right? The virtual spiral going up, doing more and more things. In regards to teaching, we both know it's complex. It's a very rewarding activity. We relate to people. We offer them knowledge, connection, right? Sometimes a sense of friendship or family, being close to their process, their emotions. That is behavioral activation, and it goes both ways because you're activating them, they're also activating you, right? It goes back and forth. We can experience a degree of pleasure and mastery during the education process. This activation can become a form of, let's say, a vaccine, right? Against emotional turmoil when we're feeling down or whatever. If the last couple of weeks, months, you have been activated, you have been doing things, small, medium, or big, then when you are faced with a challenge, a difficult situation, a death, a loss, right? You're better prepared, right? To face it. And the final product of this higher and higher activation is well being.
Will be. So you can get your students to feel well after your class, and they can make you feel well too. It's both ways.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the magic of it.
Okay. And how does this work? Do you have it like a change in their behavior, obviously, because this is like a behavioral therapy and also helps you. And does it have any outcome in the assessment, the summative or the formative assessment of the course?
Oh, right. Great question. Yeah. Yeah. Of course, I would say so because they're more involved, right? They're more involved. They feel a better connection with you. Maybe they have the confidence to ask difficult questions, to ask for extra help, right? Instead of just being detached from them, right? That leads to problematic courses, right? Having problems with your teachers usually.
Nice. And how do you make this more effective? This therapy more effective?
Okay, okay, that's a good question. Well, usually we tend to have journals, right, or diaries, or what we call matrix, right, where you have like your whole week, right, and you're going to register what you did on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. You're going to register how well you did it, how were you feeling before doing the activity and after. So you start seeing the effect, right? Like you're like, I was feeling down on Monday. A couple of friends told me to go get lunch. I didn't want to, but I did it anyway, right? And then you check the afternoon. I'm feeling better. I'm preparing my class for the next day, right? So you can see in a very objective way that it worked,
That it
right?
worked. It
So that,
does.
that gives you extra motivation.
Nice. We're heading toward the end of our episode, but I would like you to tell me about your own experience and how have you used this therapy as an English teacher?
Okay, okay, great. I think that in our classes, like I told you, the level of connection, sometimes doing this experiential exercises with them, like, role playing, things that are akin to their own tastes, their own likes, right? I really like sometimes when we do, about this, what's the name of it? Show and tell,
Show and
right?
tell. Yeah.
You can do it at any level and it gives you a lot of information of the person. The person is projecting their feelings, is being vulnerable sometimes, right? If I bring you a picture of the Grammy, for example, right, and start telling you about her, then it makes a connection with you. I feel activated. I feel understood.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like with exercise, like
Would you say this therapy works better in a group or in a personal one-to-one class?
I think both. I think it's a little bit more difficult with bigger groups, right? Because you don't have like the focus on each one of them.
Mhm.
Maybe it's more general. I would say maybe small groups or personal, right?
Or personal. Thank you. So let's end this up and let's sum up all of this with maybe a message that you would like to send to our audience, all the English professors and English students who are with us. But what would you say to them regarding our topic, obviously?
Of course, of course. Well, I encourage our listeners to incorporate language teaching and any other type of teaching in general, right? We can teach a lot of things to many different people into our self care routines, right? As a way of helping others. It can do wonders for our well being and our mood. Activation is key. Do it at your own pace. Start from the small things. And I can guarantee that you can build up step by step to something greater and greater each time.
Thank you very much, Liga. We really do appreciate this. And this is it. This is how we have come to the end of this episode. And we invite you to stay tuned to our series, full English series that we're going to have this time. And we have prepared for you. And of course, please follow our social media, which are in the description of this video. And it's been a pleasure to share this moment with you. I'm Diana Godinez, and it's been a pleasure to see you in this episode of Explora, Podcast Meso. Have a lovely day.